Right.
Great.
So after my MA, I took 1 year off. Otherwise, we would have been classmates.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I worked in Nagaland for a year. Then I came back and did my MPhil 89-90.
Great. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
It's 4 RP. You can start.
Yes, sir, we will. Ms. Saranya, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Shall we start, sir? Yeah, we will.
On behalf of PG and Research Department of English, I take pleasure in welcoming you all to the international webinar on e-resources to enhance English communication skills. Let us begin the session with a prayer song by Mr. Josiah Emmanuel and Mr. Moses.
Come the fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call or songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming fixed upon it, mount of thy river. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise.
I invite Mr. Josiah Emmanuel to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Daumani Christopher, Principal and Secretary, the American College, the patron of this international webinar. I welcome Dr. Rajendra Pandian, Head in Charge, PG and Research Department of English, who remains a constant inspiration and motivation for all of us. I also feel immensely happy to welcome Dr. Paul Jacob, Head in Charge, Department of English SF, Dean of International Exchange and Study Abroad. He's also a pillar of support and encouragement, and I extend a hearty welcome to Professor John Rajkumar, Head, Department of English, SF, Satellite Campus. I feel elated to welcome our resource person, Dr. Justin James, in whose collaboration we as a department take immense pride. And I'm very happy to welcome Professor Daniel Rubaraj, the webinar coordinator, the organizing secretary, and the assistant coordinators and the members of the organizing committee, Professor Emmanuel, Professor Moses, Professor Charnya, and Professor Susan. I also welcome the faculty, students, and the participants of this international webinar, and I wish you all a fruitful and a productive experience of knowledge sharing, and I hope you make the best of your time here in this virtual conglomerate. Thank you.
I now invite Dr. Rajendra Pandian, Head in Charge, PG and Research Department of English, to brief the history of the department.
Mr. Principal, Resource Person, Dr. Justin James, SF heads, senior professors, faculty and students from the American College, and those from our fellow institutions. I am privileged to welcome you all to this webinar organized by the PG and Research Department of English, the American College, Madurai. To introduce the department, I can say the beginning of the English department coincides with the inception of the college in the year 1881. As the study of the English language was mandatory for students of all degree programs, the college started BA English in the year 1968. The postgraduate program was introduced in 1980 and doctoral research in 1994. As part of the sesquicentennial celebrations, MPhil was started in the year 2005. In order to meet the growing societal demands, BA and MA English programs in SF were launched in 2014 and 15 respectively. BA English SF was also started in Satellite Campus in the year 2017. Due to the increased reception of the study of English language and literature, a third and formal section was commenced on the main campus in 2018. The college promoted research by creating a special library called Study Center for Indian Literature in English and Translation, Skillet, in the year 1994, with the late Dr. Paul Lowe as its founder. The center serves the people globally in the field of Indian literature. The department also has been producing in-house textbooks for Part 2 learners of the college since 1991. At this juncture, it may be appropriate to cite the report of the recent Autonomy Review Committee, which states that English department is a model department for the college. We also pioneer in curriculum development by introducing new language courses and multidisciplinary courses. These courses introduce students to the intersectional literary practices and also seek to raise awareness about civil, social, and environmental issues. They seek to develop in students a possibility of a positive role in building a better society. Asian fiction in English and contemporary Tamil fiction in English provide sort of new global directions in literary studies. Courses like Varieties of English and Methods in Teaching English deepen students' knowledge in English language and prepare them for a career in teaching. On the whole, the courses in UG syllabus aim at providing knowledge in English language and literature. Another forte of the department is the staging of plays every year, and the baton of such tradition will be taken forward this year by Mr. Moses and team. This opportunity inspires young minds who in turn are drawn to the Department of English at the American College. This is one department in the college to have more than a dozen faculty members who have overseas experience and to produce excellent graduates who are placed globally. Maybe I should conclude by saying that the department cultivates critical thinking skills, interpretive skills, and of course, life coping skills, which happen to be our mission and vision. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction, sir. Next, I request Dr. M. Domination Christopher, Principal and Secretary, to deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
International webinar on e-resources to enhance English communication skill, organized by PG and Research Department of English. Dr. Rajendra Pandian, Head of the PG and Research Department of English. Dr. Paul Jacob, Head of the SF Departments of English in Main Campus. Mr. John Rajkumar, Head of the Department of English in Satellite Campus. Dr. Justin James, E-Learning Coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Science, Sultanate of Oman. Mr. Daniel Ruparaj, Coordinator of this webinar, assistant coordinators, faculty, students, and participants. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening, sir.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the Department of English for having thought of organizing such a wonderful webinar. Also, I am pleased to know that the resource person, Dr. Justin James, happens to be from our own neighborhood, Nagarjuil. The college has a strong bond with the southern cities in terms of students' willingness to join our college. We have quite a number of students from down south. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Justin James, the Josephite,
Yes, sir.
the resource person of today's webinar. The American College, established in the year 1881, is known for English department. It is one of the most popular departments in our college. Well, I would like to say a few words about why our students lack language competence and also the importance of enhancing communication skills. In the present syllabus of the school curriculum, all the boards in India, like State Board, Matriculation Board, Central Board, and ICSE, offers English as a second language. Though the syllabus is designed in such a way that the language skills are given importance, the pedagogy followed is neither current nor appropriate. For instance, the English book for the Central Board is designed in a manner which is language-centered. But an interaction with the students reveals that teachers do not give emphasis on the acquisition of language skills as much as on the content of the text. Even though urban schools insist on students speaking in English, both inside and outside the classrooms, it doesn't produce the desired results. The current Samachir Kalvi in Tamil Nadu offers an opportunity for students to acquire all the 4 skills of LSRW, the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But circumstances are not learner-friendly. Therefore, it becomes the duty of the college teachers to facilitate students to enhance their communication skills and thereby become global players. English teachers at the collegiate level will have to adapt themselves to e-resources in order to make possible for students to improve their communication skills. Students who pass out from the American college must have good communication skills in addition to acquiring knowledge. This will facilitate students' placement in either metropolis or cosmopolis. I consider the English department is moving in the right direction by inviting Dr. Justin James, the appropriate person to suit the needs of present-day teaching, learning, and testing English communication skills. Apt person for the apt program. Once again, I congratulate the heads, Dr. RP, Dr. Jacob, Mr. John Rajkumar, the head of the Department of English in Satellite Campus, for organizing such a wonderful webinar. My hearty wishes to webinar coordinator, Mr. Daniel Rubaraj, and assistant coordinators, Mr. Joshua Emmanuel, Mr. Moses, Ms. Charanya, and Ms. Sharon Susan, and John Stewart Raj. I wish you all the best. God bless.
Thank you, sir. I invite Mr. Moses, Assistant Professor, to introduce the resource person.
Good evening, one and all present here. Let me introduce today's speaker, Dr. Justin James. Dr. Justin James is a professor of English and e-learning coordinator at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Sultanate of Oman. He is an experienced English language and literature teacher with a doctoral degree in applied linguistics. He is a skilled teacher of English as a foreign language and English as a second language with a TESOL certificate from the American TESOL Institute, Tampa, Florida, USA. He is trained in using ICT for language teaching and holds a certificate awarded by Trinity College, London. Dr. Justin is an English language trainer, teacher educator, ICT teacher trainer, and ELT consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the education and education management industry. As a language trainer, he has additional experience in training students for English language proficiency tests like TOEFL and IELTS. As an ELT consultant, Dr. Justin has trained, advised, and developed the materials for English language professionals working in schools, colleges, and academics. Besides, he is an international resource person for colleges and universities in India, conducting workshops and delivering plenary talks in conferences and webinars. Dr. Justin has many international publications to his credit. He has received several awards, including the Best Teacher Award and the Best Researcher Award. He has carried out projects funded by the Research Council of Oman, Government of Sultanate of Oman. In addition, he is a designated foreign examiner for PhD research in ELT and English literature for Periyar University, Vellore Institute of Technology, and Gandhigram Rural University. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. I'm pleased to hand over the session to Dr. Justin James, E-Learning Coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Sciences. Participants, please make note of the questions, if any, and post it in the chat box. The questions will be answered after the session. Over to Dr. Justin James.
Thank you very much. At the outset, I'm very happy that I'm invited to speak today from one of the prestigious autonomous institutes of our state. And I'm very happy that most of my seniors or contemporaries from St. Joseph's College are there as a principal, as well as heads of the departments, as well as lecturers there. And their contribution is very important in building up the English department. So running an English department is a very challenging affair, because this is the only department in a college that has to cater to the needs of all the students from all the departments. So therefore, it is very important that the English departments are run very efficiently. From the reports presented by Dr. Rajendra Pandian, I'm happy to note that this is one of the best accredited department in the college as well as in the state. People coming from rural areas like remote areas from Tamil Nadu, and once upon a time I came from a very rural area, got an opportunity to study in one of the best institutes in the country, St. Joseph's College. That was a turning point in my life. Had it been not that college and the department, I would have been still remaining and looking after our rubber business and other things in my place. But having gone to that institute and having met many teachers who are very dedicated to help us learn the language, also learn life, and gave us enough training to plan our life in a beautiful way. So I thank all those professors now. My relationship with American College is very limited, even though there are many people who are from my own colleges are there. Last year, I started working with Professor Stanley on a book. He contributed one chapter for my book. The book is yet to be published because there was a delay because of COVID as well as some personal tragedies I had. So I'm likely to bring it by July this year. It's the first time I ever got an opportunity to collaborate with someone from American College. Later, when I got an email from Dr. Daniel, I was very happy. I immediately accepted. And today I am here with you. So I thank you one and all for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And let me start my presentation. Shall I share my screen? I like to share my entire screen. Okay. Yeah. I think this is fine.
Yes, sir, it's visible now, sir.
Yeah. Yes. The topic of the day is e-resources to enhance English communication skills, as it was introduced by this person who introduced me. So let us start with the need analysis. Why do we need to have good communication skills? Now, when we analyze communication skills in English, one basic question remains unanswered is, are we effective communicators in our own mother tongue? Are we good at all the 4 skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing? You can respond to me by switching on your microphone or use your chat box. How many of you think that you are very proficient or you have the required communicative competence in Tamil or Malayalam, whatever mother tongue you have? Yes, got one answer. Dr. Esther.
In the binocular, definitely a no from me.
Okay. So when we are not very proficient in our own language, our communicative competence just stops with speaking, right? How is it possible to expect great communicative competence in a foreign language? So even though we call in India, English as a second language, it is definitely a foreign language, isn't it? It's more foreign to people from rural parts of our country. So these are the desired attributes which our children are supposed to have after completing their graduation. So they should have enough knowledge of the subject. They should be efficient in communication. They should have social and interpersonal skills, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, social skills, collaborative skills, and above all, social responsibility. This is one of the basic skills we need to live as human beings in the society. Now let us look at what is the actual position of or status of graduates today. This may not be true to students from premium colleges like American College, St. Joseph's College, Loyola, or MCC. But what about other colleges, other institutions around us? Subject knowledge is good, satisfactory. They manage to memorize and study. They are weak in communication, either in mother tongue or in the foreign language they study. Poor in interpersonal skills. This is something very important, how to talk to other people, how to interact with other people without friction, how to mitigate friction if at all there are any frictions. Very poor in social skills. Employability is very poor. Poor performance in workplace. Lacks professionalism. Selfish indulges in self-promotion. This is one of the biggest shortcomings of Indian graduates at the global level. So they are always selfish and they always try to promote their own interest, leave alone taking care of others. Give me a second. Yeah. Now look at this picture. What do you think? Is it true, or would you like to say that no, our graduates are better? They can manage any situation, they can communicate, they can be successful in interviews. The question is, what real world skills do you have? The answer is test. I can take tests. So do you think taking tests, passing examination, is that the only thing that is very important for a successful life? Don't you think this is the present challenge we teachers are facing today?
Definitely.
Yeah, and also the parents, and definitely the students. The parents are the stakeholders, and the teachers are there to cater to the needs of students and parents. So this is a big challenge, isn't it? Bringing them out of test-taking mode and making them learn real life skills. This ribbon is not going. What shall I do about it? It's a long time before I use Zoom, and I forgot we use Microsoft Teams here. Anyone have some idea? This is troubling. Okay, I can manage with it from the other screen. No issues. Don't want to waste time. So let us watch this video, 21st Century Education. It's a discussion between students. Can you all hear the sound?
Not really. Yeah, no.
I think I have to share the computer sound. Yeah.
Hey everyone!
It's okay now?
I am Divya and I'm full of energy and as hyper as always. I'm Kim and I'm always seen with my
Yes, yes, sir.
computer. And I'm the girl
Thank you.
who recently cut my hair short, Ashley. And we are all going to become educators. Today, we bring to you a presentation on the 21st century education, powered by Powtoon. Like everybody else, we have been through school, we have been through different challenges. We have seen how learners are like, and we know how our educators do what they do.
So, what are the attributes of the 21st century learners?
21st century learners are basically digital natives, born into a technology world and exposed to technology since young. That grants a vast trove of information and access to learning new things virtually. 21st century learners are social media actives. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, this, that, you name it, you know it. Social media is the most active activity on the internet, and its users are dominated by, you guessed it, us who are born and living in the 21st century.
With our extreme curiosity and ability to easily learn new things means we also need to get the information we need quick, fast and vivid. Slow, lengthy and traditional approaches bore us. We also like learning things which are meaningful and relevant to us.
In relation to this, psychologists have pointed out that our kids these days are growing up too fast, that we are entering adult world faster than we should. Thanks, David Elkin.
So what are our kids expected to achieve in this ever-growing world? The answers are not in the A's, but C's. The 4 C's of 21st century education include
The first C, critical thinkers. Critical thinkers make connections between information and arguments, as well as draw conclusions based on the best analysis. They reflect critically on learning experiences and processes, as well as ask significant questions that lead to better solutions.
The second C, communicators. Communicators articulate ideas effectively using oral, written, and non-verbal communication skills through variety of forms and contexts. They do also listen effectively to decode meaning, including knowledge, values, and attitudes. They do also communicate effectively in diverse environments, including multilinguality.
The third C, collaborators. Collaborators demonstrate ability to work effectively and respectfully with diverse teams. They make the necessary compromises to accomplish a common goal and assume shared responsibility for collaborative work. More than that, they value the individual contributions made by each team member.
Last but not least, the fourth C, creators. Creators innovate new and worthwhile ideas of both additional and radical concepts. They also be responsive to diverse perspectives, incorporate group input, and feedback into work. Creators also demonstrate originality in work and understand the real-world limits to adopting new ideas.
How about our educators? What challenges would they face? Surely, achieving these 4 C's would be a challenge for the educators of our 21st century learners.
First, educators would struggle with keeping up with new trends and educational technology as it constantly develops. Second, they are required to come up with interesting, captivating content to capture students' interest during teaching and learning by keeping themselves constantly inspired to inspire creativity among learners.
Other challenges also include finding ways to communicate effectively to keep learners interested, and also finding a way to instill positive character and behavior in learners.
Ultimately, educators must possess the same 21st century skills that they will teach to their learners. It is more important now than ever that we cater for the best interests of our learners. After all, just as John Dewey once said,
If we teach today the way we were taught yesterday, we aren't preparing students for today or tomorrow.
The end.
bye!
Right, I think you got the gist of what is being
Created using
said there.
Powtoon.
The most important thing here we have to understand is that I think there is nothing wrong with the students. It's with the system and the way we teach them is one of the big challenges. So we are not able to cater to the needs of students because we are not able to change our system, change our syllabus, change the way we teach. But after the COVID, last 2 years, I could see a lot of changes coming into the curriculum, a lot of changes in the way students are being taught. So some positive changes have come in. So though it was unexpected, these changes were forced on us, and we had to change our ways of teaching. Why it is important to change our ways of teaching, or what are the things that are needed to be done in order to make our graduates employable, communicate well, and make a good living. So these are the skills needed for our students to be successful globally, because India is a country with a lot of human resources. So it's our responsibility to cater to the needs of the world. So we are a steady suppliers of human resources to the world. So it's incumbent on our part to produce quality human resources for the needs of the world. It is not only for job purpose, but also, to enhance peace and tranquility all over the world. So wherever Indians go, they create a peaceful atmosphere. We are peace-loving people. We can create a very good work environment. There are many positive things that are there with us. That's the reason why most of the Indians are there in multinational companies. So we can do more about this by providing enough educational opportunities to our students so that they can enhance their skills. So these are the 12 basic skills our students need to know, are very proficient in. Critical thinking involves logically assessing information to make informed decision. This is something very important for their personal as well as professional lives. So creativity, they should be able to think creatively and come out with creative solutions to the existing problems. Collaboration, this is also very important. People should be able to collaborate with one another. So in today's world, the job market looks for people who are very good in collaborating with others. They call it team players. So our students should be team players. For that, we should have a lot of collaborative activities in our curriculum so that they become easy collaborators. They collaborate easily with others without any prejudices or pride. Communication. So they should be able to communicate what they feel, as well as they should be able to understand others. So communication is not only speaking, but also receiving information, listening to others, and understanding others. So information literacy. So this is something very important. They should have all the enough information. If not, they should be able to access information that are required for their job purpose. Media literacy. They should be able to analyze and understand what is being circulated in media to verify the authenticity of the information they get, to analyze and understand. So another point is technology literacy. So this is also very important. 10 years before, when I go for training teachers, I used to tell them that, 10 years from now, you cannot go to a class without a laptop. They used to laugh at me. They think that I am a little bit crazy or something like that. They thought they can continue to, go to class empty-handed and come out with the satisfaction of delivering a great lesson. But fortunately or unfortunately, because of COVID, it has come true. So after 10 years, the same teachers I trained, when I meet them now, they tell me that, sir, what you predicted has come true. Today, we can't go to a classroom without a computer or without a tablet in our hand, or minimum your mobile phone. Then flexibility. So this is something very important in any institution, be it educational institution or a multinational company. One has to be flexible, to work at flexible times, to work extra, sometimes to replace someone within a short notice. All these things are required. So one has to be very flexible. If you are rigid, you are out of the game. Leadership. So this is also very important in a sense that, when there is a need to lead a team, our students should be ready to lead. So training leadership or imparting leadership qualities in them is one of the basic requirements of education today, especially at college level. So there are many organizations in India that helps to do that. NCC, NSS, and other organizations do a great job of creating leadership qualities among our students. Initiative. So they should be able to initiate, a kind of internal motivation that helps them to start new projects, bring out new plans, and execute them for the benefits of others. They should be able to be productive. And finally, social skills. So how to interact with people, how to understand. So they need to work with the people from different parts of the world. So today, now we are watching the war that is going on there, and how Indians are treated at railway stations and other places. So racism is there everywhere. In our country, it is all the more there, as casteism is there. So domination. So one has to survive all these things and perform to live a better life. So we have to prepare our students to do all these things. So see, one challenge of language teachers is that we don't end up stopping by teaching the language and the language skills. It's our challenge to kind of give overall formation to our students. So all those 12 skills, it is our responsibility to develop in our students. So it is the language teachers who are responsible for developing all these skills in our students. So let me move on to the next part. So I have divided this presentation into 4 parts. So skill-wise. So the first skill I'm going to discuss is how to improve listening skills. What is the best method to enhance communication skills? So this is from Stephen Creyson. The best methods are therefore those that supply comprehensible input in low anxiety situations containing messages that students want to hear. These methods do not force early production in the second language, but allow students to produce when they are ready. Recognizing that improvement comes from supplying communicative and comprehensible input and not from forcing and correcting production. So this is something very, very important. Even in our native language, mother tongue, the production comes much, much later. No child starts talking in the first month or first week of its existence. It takes time. After the age of 2, 3, some children start talking at the age of 4 or 5. So it takes a lot of inputs, take a lot of time to develop the skill of speaking. So therefore, a lot of listening inputs are necessary, and you cannot force students to communicate at an early stage. So enough input is needed for them to get automatically ready, naturally ready to speak. Here are some reasons to prioritize your listening skills. Accessibility. So how to access available resources. So listening activities are available anywhere. You can use your smartphone. Just bring some headphones and you can turn spare time into English listening practice. So this is one thing. So most of you have a device with you. So you pay 10,000, 15,000 to buy a device. Why don't you use it for enhancing your language capabilities? Another thing is free or low cost listening apps or resources that are available. So listening activities are generally free or low cost, and it is available everywhere. So multitasking. So another thing is you can listen to something and do other work. So listening activities are great because they are easy to build in your day while you are doing other activities like doing dishes. You can try a podcast at your gym, listen to music, communicate during work, catch your favorite radio show and listen to them. Let us watch this video clip.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages that...
Hi, I'm Kasia. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you're going to learn how you can improve your English listening.
You'll see simple, effective tips that anyone can use to improve their English listening skills. We'll also give you a practical, easy-to-follow study plan to help you improve your English listening fast.
But first, let's start with some questions. I'm going to ask you about 4 different situations where you would hear spoken English. You should think about whether understanding spoken English would be easy or difficult for you. Okay? First, you're listening to an English teacher speaking British English, speaking slowly and clearly. Easy or difficult?
Next, you're listening to a native English speaker from Scotland who speaks with a Scottish accent and also uses a lot of slang and idiomatic English. What do you think? Would this be easy or difficult for you?
Next, you're on a train. There are 4 non-native speakers from 4 different countries talking to each other. They have different accents. Do you think you could understand their conversation? Would it depend on where they were from?
Finally, you're listening to a news show on the radio or as a podcast. There are many different speakers and, of course, you can't see them. They're talking fast, using a lot of less common vocabulary and changing topics often. How would you find this?
Probably, most of you think that the first situation is the easiest and the last situation is the hardest. However, a lot depends on you and your experiences. The big question is, what can you do in those difficult situations? You've been studying English for years, but you still can't understand everything you hear. We get it. It's frustrating. So what can you do?
Here's a question. If you worry a lot about your English listening, will it make your English listening better? No, of course not.
Many English learners get very stressed and anxious when they can't understand something. This doesn't help your English listening, and it can even make it more difficult to understand spoken English.
To understand a foreign language, you need 100% of your brain power.
Okay, one important factor they discuss here is anxiety level. So language learning anxiety is there. It is very minimum when it comes to our mother tongue. But even mother tongue learning can be difficult when we learn grammar rules. I learned a book called Ilakkiya Varalaru. So that was the most difficult book I had in my BA. So I could understand some English novels and all in the first year, but Tamil Ilakkiya Varalaru was very difficult. It was written by one of my professors, Professor Sami Muthaiya. So that was very difficult. I was very anxious without knowing the meaning of language learning anxiety. So one important factor or one important thing that teachers today need to do is take steps to reduce the anxiety level of the students. For that, you can introduce a lot of videos like the one I showed and the one I am going to screen now. These videos will help students to understand that language learning is can be managed without anxiety when they plan their language learning.
Be honest. Are you happy living in Oman with your current income? Exorbitant cars, rising rent.
Many people actually think that it's enough to say, I want to learn German in 2018 and that's my goal. But actually, that's not a very good goal because it's not specific. So being specific is probably the most important thing when it comes to goal setting, and I'm going to go into the detail of that. And the technique I'm going to recommend is setting SMART goals or SMART objectives. So what does it actually mean? So SMART basically stands for specific, measurable, ambitious, realistic, and time-bound. So the first one is about being specific. What is it specifically that you're trying to achieve? So you're not just trying to learn German. You're trying to do something specific. Are you trying to learn how to introduce yourself in German? Are you trying to learn how to talk about your job in German? Be specific about it. Because then when it comes to evaluating your goal and deciding, have I actually learned this or not, you will be able to look at the specific goal and the specific outcomes that you've achieved and decide how well you've done. The next thing in the SMART objective setting process is making sure that your goals are measurable. So make sure that you can measure it somehow. How many words are you trying to learn? How are you going to measure your success? How will you know that you've actually achieved your goal? Make it measurable so you can actually measure it at the end and decide how successful you were. The next one is ambitious. Make sure that all the goals that you're setting for language learning are ambitious. Sometimes people find it difficult to do that and they end up learning the same thing over and over again, or just doing basically things that are too easy for them. So make sure that you're stretching yourself, because that way you can actually progress faster. The next one is realistic. So make sure your goals are ambitious but also possible to meet. You have to be realistic about it. You won't be able to learn 100 words every single day, because that's not realistic, and you don't want to get demotivated, because if you've got a goal that you can't actually meet, you will get demotivated. And the final one, probably the most important one, is time bound. Do you have a deadline on when you want to meet your goal by? I definitely recommend having short-term and long-term goals. You can have a goal for this week, this month, this year, whatever it is. Make sure you've got a combination of different deadlines. My next tip for setting language learning goals is to write them down. Write them down somewhere and have it ready. Have it somewhere where you can put it in front of you every single day, just to stay motivated. If you download my Learn Languages Like a Pro starter guide, which I linked to below in the description box, you will get a template where you can basically record your language learning goals, which is very useful. So I definitely recommend that you download that for free. My next tip is to review your goals frequently. So sit down at the end of every week, at the end of every month, and go through all the different things that you've done. Evaluate your progress. How successful have you been? What could you be doing differently to make progress faster? Make sure that you also adjust your goals. So sometimes you might set a goal and it will turn out to be too difficult to meet. So that can be a bit demotivating. It's fine to actually adjust that goal in the middle of the week or in the middle of the month. You don't have to wait until the end of the period to adjust it, because otherwise it will be a bit pointless if you've got a goal that you can't actually meet and you're working towards it. Quite demotivating, isn't it? So this is it, my top tips.
So this is one way you can set a language learning goal, and teachers can insist on students having a semester plan, in which it is a larger plan where they can divide a semester into weeks and months, and they can ask the students to write down their personal goals. What are their personal goals in relation to language learning in that particular semester? So we can guide them to have a plan. We can create a sample plan, give it to them, ask them to modify and make changes and implement that in their semester. And you can even, autonomous colleges can include some points, some marks for their planning and execution. And finally, we can ask them, even have a kind of viva for 5-10 minutes to discuss their plans, as well as what they have achieved, what they haven't achieved. All those things can be discussed. It can be part of speaking assessment, as well as the general assessment for that particular semester in a language classroom. So how to use podcasts to improve English listening. And podcasts are recorded specifically for language learners, foreign language learners. Mostly these podcasts are done by BBC, Voice of America, and other famous channels. So they cater to the needs of people from different parts of the world, students from different parts of the world, to learn English. So find a good English podcast at your level. I shall give you some examples after these slides are over. Listen first without a transcript or subtitle. You'll get a sense of how much you understood without help. Then you use key vocabulary and a transcript or subtitles. These aids will help you figure out anything you missed on the first listening, and also reinforce new vocabulary or phrases. So listening again and again. So first without any transcripts or subtitles, then with subtitles. As a third thing, write a summary of what you have listened. Whatever, there is no need to rush and think that I am not able to write down everything. No, if 10 points are discussed, if you could write down at least 3 points to start with, that is a great achievement. Then from the podcast you listen, from the scripts, you can select your own vocabulary, keep track on new vocabs you are learning either on paper or in an app. So you can copy that onto your mobile. So there are many facilities there in our mobile phones itself to take notes. Then transcribe the podcast. So, switch off the subscripts and try to write down what you listen. Another advantage in podcasts are you can slow down the speed of the podcast delivery. So you can try to write down the sentences you hear, you are listening to. That will also help you to improve your vocabulary, spelling, and things like that. Then shadow the podcast. Shadowing is, as you listen to the speaker, you also speak the same dialogue or sentence, the information you hear. That is also a very good way to improve your pronunciation as well as to improve your speaking abilities. So listening, this will automatically help you to improve your speaking. So these are the examples of some of the podcasts. This is from British Council. They have a regular supply of podcasts every week. I'm not going to play it fully. It is 24 minutes, just 2 minutes.
Hello, and welcome to this Learn English elementary recording brought to you by the British Council. To find out more and to access language activities and audio scripts, visit our Learn English website at www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
Hello, and welcome to Learn English Elementary Podcast number 1. My name's Ravi.
And I'm Tess. We're your presenters, and we've got lots of things for you to listen to today. But before we start, I think we should introduce ourselves. Ravi?
Okay, I'm Ravi.
Or I tell you what, I'll introduce you, and you can introduce me. How about that?
Well, okay then. This is Tess. She's from London. How old are you?
None of your business, Ravi.
And she loves dancing and riding her mountain bike. Okay?
Okay. And this is Ravi. He comes from Manchester. He's 23. Oh, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
He likes football and he's a great cook.
Thanks. And then...
Yeah. Do you like her films? Do you think she's a good actress?
Yes, I do. I don't think she's a great actress, but she's a good actress. And she's so beautiful that you just want to look at her all the time.
Yeah.
I think she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I love watching her. I love all her films.
And what would you like to talk to her about, Zara?
I'd like to talk about her trips to different places all around the world.
So the variety of contents, this is also very important, the topics, when you travel, our graduates, when you travel to other countries, they need a lot of information regarding the way they can speak, the manners and the cultural compatibility should be established as soon as you reach a place. Otherwise, you will have cultural shock. In order to avoid cultural shock, it is important to have exposure to native speakers and how a native speaker, if you are going to either London, America, or any other country, most of our students' destinations are these European countries and American countries. Therefore, it is important for them to know their own cultural compatibility in that particular situation. So therefore, they need to listen to these kind of podcasts, which will help them to enhance their language competence. This is one from Voice of America.
Consider a time that you answered the phone or made a phone call.
Here in this, the grammar is integrated. This is a discussion about modal verbs.
What kinds of words did you use? What kinds of grammatical structures were important? In today's report, we will explore a point of grammar connected to phone calls. You will learn about some uses of modal verbs. We describe English verbs in terms of 3 ideas: tense, aspect, and modality. That might sound like a lot to think about, but here is a simple explanation. Tense has to do with time. For example, tense can show present and past actions. Time beyond the basic present or in this sentence, the modal verb will expresses willingness. When a person says, "I'll answer the phone," they are suggesting that they are able to answer the phone and they want to answer the phone. Imagine the same situation that we just explored. You are sitting with family or friends. You hear the phone ring, and perhaps everyone looks around.
So the transcripts are also there simultaneously. Once you become a little bit experienced listeners, you can straight away listen to the transcripts. These are some of the audiobooks available. Some of the websites you can access the audiobooks free of cost. So you can download the audiobooks, and whenever you are free to listen, whenever your hands are free, or sorry, your hands are engaged, you can just switch on to your headphone and listen to these podcasts. Now let us move on to reading skills. So first I am discussing both receptive skills. Listening and reading are receptive skills, and speaking and writing are productive skills. So these are some of the essential skills for reading comprehension. So decoding the things you read, recognizing the words, and a possible guessing the meaning. This is what scholars said decoding. When I discuss some of the basic informations, I just go rather fast. Then fluency. So one has to enhance one's own fluency in reading. Fluency is your ability to instantly recognize words, including words that they can't sound out, like maybe some strange words. Later you can check the dictionary and find out the pronunciation and move on. Also, when you are reading, you need to understand the text, and this for reading and understanding, it is 2 ways. If you have very good vocabulary background, you can read faster. The more you read, your vocabulary enhances. So comprehension enhances. So therefore, it is important to concentrate developing vocabulary also. Then sentence construction and cohesion. So this cohesion and coherence are very important. When you read, you can very well see how the meaning or the information is organized in each sentence, how each sentences are connected, and how the whole all the sentences used in a paragraph is connected to give a meaning or pass on a message. So this is also very important. Then the next thing is trying to read between lines and understand what is said and what is implied. This is very important in English language. Most of the time I have given 2 very simple layman example. What do you like to have, tea or coffee? It's a question. Very nice of you. I love coffee. So what does it mean? So at the outset, the answer is I love coffee. Does it mean that he needs coffee or not? So he's not directly stating he likes to have a coffee, he or she likes to have a coffee. He says he needs a coffee in a different way. So it is implied that he loves to have a cup of coffee. Then another question, shall we go to a movie? The answer, it is risky to go to a theater during COVID. So is it a yes or no? It is a no. So we should be able to, understand what is communicated, what is said and what is implied. That is also very, very important. Then memory and attention. So it is a RAM, random access memory. So we have this, like a computer, whatever we are doing currently, that is run on a random memory that is in our brain, where when you read something, you should be able to retain that information for quite some time and use it a little bit later, or allow time to time for the information to sink into your permanent memory so that you can use that information later. Also, attention is a kind of notification that you get from your brain that while you are reading a paragraph, suddenly it tells you that, oh, stop, there is something which you don't understand. Read it again, maybe find out the meaning. What is this new word about? So that kind of control the reading, it comes naturally for us when we read. So this is something, this video I'm skipping for want of time. It is active reading, how one can be very actively engaged in reading. Later I can, one thing I'll do is I'll share all the links to Dr. Daniel. He can share it with you so that you can have a look at it later. So another very important resource I used with my students is Voice of America. So there are many stories, beginning level, intermediate level, advanced level. These stories are free. You can access anytime. If you just type VOA, Voice of America, Special English, or English learning lessons, whatever it is, you'll get a lot of stories. All these stories are, sometimes you get videos, sometimes you get audio and the scripts. These are American stories. So we read a lot of American literature. So this is The Last Leaf, O. Henry story. Maybe I can play it for a while, some 30 seconds.
Our story today is called The Last Leaf. It was written by O. Henry. Here is Barbara Klein with the story.
Many artists lived in the Greenwich Village area of New York. Two young women named Sue and Johnsy shared a studio apartment at the top of a 3-story.
Okay, Barbara Klein is a Canadian. Most of the Voice of America readers are from Canada because they have much more neutral accent. Because these videos are made, or these recordings are made for the purpose of people from all over the world. So they wanted to use neutral accent. Mostly they engage Canadians to read these news items. Then textbooks. So what kind of textbooks do we select, or what kind of textbooks do we use? So we use some of these textbooks printed and published by National Geography. And so I think it is a bit slow. Yeah, I can reduce and log in from the, show you the textbook and how it works. Yeah, so these books are very useful in accessing the information needed for us. Somehow that link is not connected from my PPT. Copyright restrictions. So I have to use my license to open this textbook. I'm sorry, it's taking some time. Okay, so this is the kind of books we use. Social relationships. It's one of the very good stories. So we start with interacting with the students. Just we don't say anything about the lesson. Just show the picture and ask them to predict. Prediction is one of the ways you can enhance language output from students. Identifying main idea and supporting ideas, evaluating supporting arguments. This is the purpose of this lesson. So understanding related science news report, review paragraph writing comparison and paragraph. So we just show this picture and ask them, what do you think about this picture? What do you think is the relationship between? Sometimes the predictions are accurate, sometimes predictions are not accurate. The purpose is to, make their brain get activated. So most of the passages we use here comes with a listening paragraph as well. Sorry, listening recorded passage. Look at the picture. So the ape in the office. So there is another picture in the next page. See, what is the relation? So, generate thinking. And naturally, this is a kind of indirect ways in which we can activate students' thinking and make them speak in the class. And these lessons come with recording. And we can play the recording.
Unit 1, Social Relationships, pages 5 through 7. Lesson A, Reading, Track 1-1. The Ape in the Office. Does the office jungle?
Okay, so then there are exercises that enhance critical thinking, spoken English, some aspects of spoken English, pronunciation, all these things are integrated. So even though it is a reading book, all the skills are integrated into it. Now, this is one important, look at this particular paragraph, which I have taken from that lesson to demonstrate how you can enhance your reading capabilities in understanding a paragraph. So if you look at the paragraph, spend a minute, very quickly try to read that. So it is important for students to know when they learn a language, how to read and understand a paragraph. What are the important components that are there in a paragraph? So mostly a paragraph starts with a topic sentence. Then the next sentence can be a contrasting information or a collaborating information. Then how things are explained, supporting arguments to the contrasting claim. So first sentence, people often have a perception that the animal world is full of conflict. So we always think that, animals are always in conflict, they fight, they kill each other. Like sometimes we ask people, are you an animal or a human being? But now the phrases has been changed, they say that, be like animals. They have an order, they have a discipline, they have respect. They don't kill each other unless they are hungry. So these kind of discussions, the content is also supplying a lot of thinking into our lives, our social relationship. So most of the chapters selected are very important for young minds to develop their attitude towards living. That way it is very enriching. These textbooks are very enriching. So, however, that word is, you have to, how this signal word is changing the idea. We are going to give a contrasting idea. And then what are the explanation? So they are giving a scientific explanation. Conniff is a scientist who studies apes and men, the behavior of apes and behavior of men in office. Then comes examples, support the claim that animals don't involve in conflict, that they engage in grooming each other. Then finally, there is a kind of a summing up and a concluding sentence. For humans and primates, conflict is infrequent and does not last long. So we are more or less same. We don't always live in conflict. And finally, a concluding statement that says, for both species, cooperation is more effective way to succeed and survive. Then you try connecting with a topic sentence. Don't you think it has got direct relation with a topic sentence? This is how paragraphs are developed. So this is a good way to introduce reading text to students and tell them what exactly is the part of that particular sentence in that particular paragraph. This kind of, what shall I say, explanatory discussion will help students read and understand English in a better way. Naturally, they will enhance their writing. So I'm moving on to the next part. So how to improve writing skills? I have taken up some of the important tips. Again, the first thing is that if you want to be a good writer, you must be a good reader, because reading is the input, and that input is processed and the output is writing. So unless you give yourself words, ideas, information, and reading enhances your thinking, you cannot, if your writing is not supported by reading, you can't write successfully. So when you are writing, you have to have a clear concept about what you are going to write. So this is very, very important in the Indian context. The first one, Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. Before you start writing, take a moment to mentally explain the concept to a 6-year-old who lives inside your head. So this is one area we Indians need to improve a lot. The reason why I say is that it is connected to the next point, anticipate your reader's question, audience analysis. So when we write something, we should have the audience in our mind. Who is going to read it? What kind of, so if you are writing class notes, if as a teacher, I am going to a classroom and I'm going to give a lecture. So most of the colleges I have found personally that teachers use very high sounding vocabulary and students sit there and just watch them. Yeah, what a beautiful English my teacher is speaking. But at the end of the class, if you ask the students, how much of that helped them to understand? So using very, very ordinary language, layman's language is very, very important. So borrowing difficult words don't help in any way. So it is not at all a thing to do. We have to talk to them in very ordinary language. This is something very, very important. So most of the literature teachers use words from literature that are way above their understanding. So therefore, we should be able to dilute it, paraphrase it, and use simple language in the class. And grammar is also very important when you improve your writing. Then write an outline. So what you are going to write, what you are going to say in the introduction, what you are going to say into the next paragraph, what are you going to discuss in the subsequent paragraph, then what are you going to be your sorry, what is going to be your conclusion? How are you going to conclude your writing? That is also very important. Then paragraph organization. So I need not discuss much here. You know that, paragraphs are organized. Within a paragraph, there should be a topic sentence, supporting sentences, and concluding sentence. If it is an essay, there should be an introductory paragraph, then supporting paragraphs, then conclusion. If it is a chapter, introduction, then discussion, then conclusion. All these things are very important. And checking your spelling before writing as well as after writing. When you are writing, if you are not sure about spelling, you should be able to check. Then whenever you write in a conversational style. So, look at this, what John Grisham has said. There are 3 types of words. Words we know, words we should know, words nobody knows. Forget those in the 3rd category and use restraint with those in the 2nd category. So always we should use words we know, words others know, or, seldom we can use words we should know, but we should never use words nobody knows. So you shouldn't try to be Shashi Tharoor all the time, okay? So our job in a classroom is not to show that I am a better speaker. I know a lot of words, but my job as a teacher is to enhance the communicative capabilities of my students. So what reaches their mind, what reaches their head, that need to be used in the classroom. And also keep the sentences simple. And finally, read it aloud and see the flow of sentences. And finally, practice, practice, and practice. That will help you. So if you want to become a very efficient writer, these are the academic writing infrastructures you should know. So how do you get it? If it is in your syllabus, this is especially for the students as well as research scholars who are going to write their MA, MPhil, and PhD dissertations. So without knowing these infrastructures thoroughly, please do not attempt to write your articles, research articles, or your project papers, or your PhD thesis. The first and foremost thing, because of my experience, I later tell you what are they. I again and again reinforce that Indian English teachers should teach. If you are a research guide, first 3 months, you must make your scholar to read, research on these academic writing infrastructures, and become proficient in all these infrastructures. It is very, very important to be thorough with that. Then only they can move on to even think of writing one sentence in their research article, in their thesis, or in their dissertations. This is something very important. So you have a lot of resources for that. Learn how to write an argumentative essay. Because I teach argumentative essay, I took it as an example here. So where you get a lot of blogs. Have a look at it. So if you read these blogs, they give you an idea about how to write an argumentative essay, the formats, what you can write in the introduction, what you can write in the, see? All these materials are readily available. The only one thing is that, you should be able to hunt for these materials, and teachers have to, do a lot of research and try to gather these resources and supply the URL. You can prepare a list of URL or use a web quest, give an assignment through a web quest and ask the students to go through these things and get ready with the writing. So this is one of my students' writing. I think I can show the example from here. Yeah. Not this one. Yeah, this one. Students should work while studying. Yeah, so So many tabs are open. Yeah. The topic is students should work or have a job while studying so that they become independent. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this point? So this involves a lot of thinking. And, the red marks are my comments. So, take time to correct the students' works, and that will help them to understand their writing. The samples are already there, and feedback. Giving feedback is also very important. So these are comments I wrote. A large part of your essay needs paraphrasing. Do not confuse between argumentative and discussion essay. Please write the second draft of this essay, submit the second draft before 10 a.m. on Sunday. So this was done last semester. It is running back and forth. Why this is happening? Where am I? Okay. Right. And these are other web resources you can watch. Agree, disagree, essay discussions by teachers, native speaking teachers.
Hello, it's Altsap Writing Tutorial, and today I'm going to show you how to write a Band 9 essay for IELTS Writing Task 2. In this lesson, we'll focus on
This is the structure of the essay. So look at on the right hand side, if you type how to write a agree disagree essay on the browser, then you select one video. On the right hand side, you will get many videos related to that topic. Hundreds of them will come. You can just choose. And over time, if you work like this for a couple of months, over time, the right kind of how to select the right kind of videos, who are the good teachers you can follow, and you can keep watching their videos on a regular basis. Now, another important factor is plagiarism. This is very important because I believe that there are many research scholars and research guides there listening to me. This is one chapter one of my friends from India sent it to me for correction. Then, of course, that person was willing to pay me. I said I would take 100 rupees per page. So it was 75 pages. Then I asked that person to deposit 7,500 rupees in my account first. And later, I started transacting a kind of business. I told that person, "See, currently I'm busy. I will ask you to do something. I'll run plagiarism check and ask you to paraphrase and reduce the plagiarism. I'll pay you 3,000 rupees back to you if you do this." So I checked, turn it in, and you can see the percentage of plagiarism, isn't it? So 73%. Do you think it is acceptable for a doctoral dissertation, chapter 2? Then I made that person to write, paraphrase, and submit it me later. Again, I checked. Then it is 27%. I sent back the paper saying that you have to make it 10%. So now that person is working on that particular paper. So having shared this experience, my aim is to make that person do that himself. And that chapter is here, right here with me. Okay, so yeah. So there are so many mistakes. And I'll show you the original plagiarism report, first draft and revised draft. So as a foreign examiner, I am very much concerned because if I am not an Indian, I wouldn't be much concerned about it. I'll just write a report, ask them to write the revisions and send it. See, look at page, every paragraph copied from some source or other. So this is unacceptable. Can't have more than 10% of plagiarism. And recently I got one thesis and the university plagiarism check showed it is 1%. When I run it and turn it in, it was around 30% plagiarized work. What can I do when a university is sending me a thesis with 1% plagiarism? I have to accept it. But out of my curiosity, I had to do that. So my plan is to make that particular person, do the correction himself and take back the money. So I'm going to give back the money as a reward for the work. I'm going to teach him how to do it step by step. So first I have made him to paraphrase and reduce plagiarism. Then I will ask him to go for corrections. So it is easy to do the corrections. So you can very easily revise and edit using MS Word. So there is a review panel. If you select on the left, you find the editor. I'm not going back to MS Word and tell you because I can save some time here itself. You can use this revise review panel, then editor. It will show you the errors. You can one by one go and correct. This is an introduction from one thesis I evaluated. In that thesis also, the very first sentence was very first sentence was wrong. So I had to correct it. And, they keep on just simply writing sentences after sentences without providing any evidence. Here, when I read the thesis, I write evidence. So there is a claim made here, particularly in writing. The year 1982 saw the emergence of subaltern studies movement by a group of South Asian scholars interested in South Asia's post-colonial societies and the developing nations who come to know as the subaltern studies group. Okay, where is the evidence? Where did you get it? Did you get it in your dreams? Did you read it somewhere? If you have read it somewhere, why don't you document it? So pages and pages, it is like that. Rarely they insert one reference. So this is not your own. And look at the number of mistakes, all issues, correctness, 144, clarity, engagement. So, when I get a 200 pages thesis, I cannot sit and read every sentence and find out the mistakes. So I use Grammarly. Run it in Grammarly, I get within fraction of seconds, everything every mistake's marked. Then I can go through it and find out. But at the end of the day, what to do? We have to, again, patriotism dominates. And I write a favorable report. I end up writing a favorable report. So let us now move on to the fourth part. So are you all with me? Is it okay to continue with the same speed or you want me to?
Yes, sir.
How much time is left? Dr. Daniel?
You can take your own time, sir. We are very eager to listen to you.
Okay, so if someone is in a hurry to go, please leave a thank you message in the chat box and leave, okay?
Yeah.
Meet you somewhere in Tamil Nadu later. Okay. Ways to improve your English speaking skills. So the first one again, so anything starts with vocabulary, learning new words, and also the last part of this slide, you see, it would help if you learned words in groups. For example, you refer to beverages as a glass of wine, a pint of beer, a cup of tea, a pot of coffee. So not only learning individual words, but how these words can be connected in speech. Instead of, learning a word wine separately, beer separately, tea separately, what are the, possible spoken expressions that are connected to these words we learn. So that is very important. Then improve your pronunciation. So in order to improve your pronunciation, you can use dictionaries, YouTube podcasts. And again, for example, I can show you one example. If you want to find out the pronunciation of the word cooperation, what do? Just simply type cooperation meaning. Then here
Cooperation. Cooperation. Cooperation.
So listen, repeat, listen, repeat, listen, repeat. So, I'm really sad these facilities weren't available for us in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Even up to 2000, I think these resources weren't available for us. Now, the present day generation students are very lucky to have all the resources. And, if a student tells that I go to the university to learn English and I am paying this much fee, I have to laugh at him, because you don't need to spend anything. You can sit in your room and learn English, because what you need is a mobile phone and your ability to access internet. You can learn from ordinary conversation to high-level research writing, academic writing, using your mobile phone. So today facilities are available. Today resources are freely available. So one has to use it and enhance one's own communicative competence. Learn the natural flow of English. So how, when you listen to native speakers, you can see how contractions are used, how they connect words. The examples are given here. I plus am, he plus will, he'll, they plus have, they have, do plus not, don't. So these kind of contractions are very important. When you, if you don't understand these contractions, you don't understand what native speakers, Americans or British people speak, or even for that matter, South Africans, when they speak also, you cannot follow. So it is important to learn these things and practice and imitate and use these things in your day-to-day speaking. So build English speaking confidence. So this is again, you have to overcome the anxiety level and increase your confidence. So one thing you can do is colleges like yours can do is have different clubs. I think they are there, so such a great department would have different clubs, debating clubs and things like that. So make it a regular affair, weekly affair where, and one mistake I have found in most of the premium colleges is that, they select a couple of best students and they always concentrate on training them to go for competitions outside. Okay, well and good. It is very important. But what about other 99% of students in your campus? Why don't you do something for that? Why don't you conduct internal competitions and debates, especially train the kids who are not that competent to compete at intercollegiate level or interstate level. So these are small ways you can, train students, creating more opportunities for them. Speech shadowing, like listening while you are listening, you can, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, same sentences, same words you can repeat. Shadowing is a very good way of improving your language. Another important and very effective way is self-talking. When you are doing something alone in your room, when you are in your kitchen, when you are in your study, or when you are working in your field, you can indulge in self-talk in English. Shall we get a glass of water? I need to do a load of laundry today. I need to buy some bread. I need to visit my uncle. I need to call my friend. So these kind of self-talk will help you improve your spoken English. Think in English. This is also another thing. I heard a lot of people telling me when I joined BA, one of my professors said, you must not only think in English, you must dream in English, but he didn't tell me how to do it. It is, training your mind to, in a way, set aside the normal day-to-day mother tongue usage in your thinking. Slightly change. It comes with effort, and there is no one solution for this or one easy way to do it. Over time, you train your mind to think. These are all things that needs efforts. You have to invest a lot of efforts to do it. This is storytelling. You listen to a story or translate a story that you have learned in your vernacular or heard from one of the elders in the society, and try to tell these stories in English to your classmate or another group, or try to record it in English and listen to it and see whether the same nuances that you learned about that story is very effectively communicated by you in English. If not, try to change the words, try to identify the words that are really helpful to translate what you learned in your mother tongue very effectively into the second language, the language you are trying to develop. So this is one good way. Another way is listen to TED Talks and TEDx Talks. And the local departments can arrange these kind of talks. You can model on that, we have model parliaments. Similarly, you can have model these kind of things monthly once or something like that, and encourage students to come and speak. So this is another way, but this way is a little bit risky also. When you go to cafes and meetup, Meetup is one of the cafes where you can meet native speakers or people from different parts of the world and discuss issues. You can pick up people who are of common interest. But for youngsters, you have to be very, very careful. One thing is that, what are you aiming at? Are you going to that cafe to pick up some language or pick up somebody? I'm very plain with you. So if you have to have a clear goal, if you are there to pick up some language, please do it. When you find somebody crossing the limit and trying to act smart, you know it very well. Just move away from that person. There's no need to offer explanation that, no, I am not interested. I came just for language. No. Such guys or such women, they will not understand when you try to explain. You just cut off the connection and go to another person and talk. Go to another website and develop. So there is no, that's a faceless person. You are dealing with a person, faceless person. You don't need to, or you owe nothing to that person. They are there for a purpose. They need to improve their language, their ideas by discussing things with people from different parts of the world. So keep your purpose, keep your goal clearly set. Whatever is not falling in line, just leave it. Using apps. So these are two apps I have given: Hello Talk, Tandem. So these apps, you can use it as to your spare time. You can record, listen, edit. These are the ways you can use it. Another important thing is, I've seen one day when I was waiting in an airport, one small boy sitting and asking different questions to Siri, trying to irritate that app. You know what is Siri and what is Google now? Siri is there in the Apple phone and Google now in Android. This is one way of improving your language. You can ask, when are you going to kill me? When will I die? When can I get married? Will I go to heaven? So you can get funny answers, like you can formulate very good questions, and you can try to irritate, if possible, the machine or the app. Okay. So how this also will help. So people will think you are a bit crazy, but it's all right. At the end of the day, the purpose is to learn the language and use it freely. Now, this is very important, academic speaking. So I think Dr. Daniel is one of the IELTS trainers there. This is also very important. So one way you have to pick up a good ability to communicate with anyone and everyone. You should be able to speak to a layman, to somebody high in the office, to a collector, prime minister, or anybody, or in your work situation. But formal speaking, training yourself to speak formally is also very, very important. So here I use one particular material here. Back 1 second. I don't know what is happening. Maybe something not steady with my connection. Okay. And I go backward, right? Okay, I can get it from here. All these things are readily available for me because I use them in my class. See, IELTS speaking part 1 topics. This is, look at the topics they are mostly discussing. See, work, study, home, town. These are basic things we should be aware. We should be able to speak about these things in a good way anytime. So these are most of the questions. So this is one way of improving your speaking. You can record. So most of the IELTS trainers, they don't encourage people to write down the answers for this. But I have asked my students to write down answers in full sentences and ask them to read out or speak as a starting point. Later stage, I ask them to speak without writing, and I correct them. So a spoken language is slightly different, where you can be slightly informal. That is why you can make slighter changes, help them to understand these things. So these are basics, basically very important to develop information. So the idea is that know thyself, know thy surrounding. So if you know things about yourself, there's mostly the part 1 questions are about yourself and your ideas, your neighborhood, your life. So things that are connected to your living. So for improving this kind of formal speaking, there are many online tutors. They help you enhance your speaking in a good way. And I am experiencing some trouble. Okay. Every time I close one browser and then I need to open another one. Okay, here you are.
Hello, my name is Liz. In this lesson,
I use
I'm going to look at
often
the
in my
types
class.
of topics that the examiner could ask you in IELTS Speaking Part 1. And at the end of this lesson, I'll give you a link so that you can take a look at the topic home or hometown. You will probably get one of them for your first topic. Work or study. Now, if the examiner decides to ask you about work or study, the first question that the examiner will ask is, do you work or do you study? Now, the examiner is asking this question only because he or she needs to know which topic to choose to ask the questions. So with this question, you do. Now, for the topic of home, this topic is all about where you live. So it could be about your house or your apartment. And in that topic, the examiner can ask you about the rooms in the house, how they are decorated, so what you can see on the walls, or what kind of views you have from the windows. The examiner might also ask you about the people you live with or the area and street that you live in. And the last topic, hometown. Now, if you get the topic of hometown, this is about the place where you were born or where you spent most of your childhood. And for this topic, the examiner often asks you about places.
She's a native speaker, so it is easy for us to understand. She's with a neutral accent. There is another person I like very much. I use her videos regularly in my class. This one. Sometimes I use their videos to give them assignments.
Grammarly helps you work more efficiently, which makes accomplishing your work goals easier than ever before.
Hi there. My name is Emma, and in today's lesson, we will be looking at how to do well on the speaking part of the IELTS. So the speaking part of the IELTS is divided up into 3 sections. Today, we're just going to be looking at section number 1. So first of all, I will explain how to do well, first I'll explain what happens in part 1 of the IELTS. And from there, we will look at some things you should do to do well. A lot about what you do for work, what do you study, how many people are in your family, these types of questions. Now, it's important to practice your answers. Okay, practice with your friends, practice with a mirror, practice, practice, practice. It's very important that you practice answering these types of questions before you do the IELTS. Okay, so now let's look at some of the So if you're the type of person that does this, practice speaking in environments where you get nervous. Okay, so this way you can practice maybe ways to deal with stress, ways to deal with nervousness. Try not to speak too quickly. Also, don't speak very slowly. Okay,
So these videos, they give a lot of tips to enhance your language, and they are very good free resources available for us. This is another way of improving your language, using movies, popular movies, and shadowing their dialogue.
Let's do it today with Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness. Alright, so I want you to pay special attention to the formal language used in today's scene because it's really fantastic for preparing for a job interview in English. And you're also going to get tons of examples of American pronunciation and connected speech. By the way, do you want to be able to understand natives at any speed without getting lost, without missing the jokes, and without subtitles? Well, then be sure to hit that little red subscribe button and the bell below so that we can help you do it. Now let's learn English with Will Smith. Our method for helping you understand fast-speaking natives is simple. First, you will watch the scene with subtitles. Then, you will learn all the most important vocabulary, expressions, pronunciation, cultural context, etc. And finally, you will test your learning by watching it a final time without subtitles. Our goal is for you to understand almost 100%.
Answer, and I will find the answer. Is that fair enough?
Chris, what would you say if a guy walked in for an interview without a shirt on? And I hired him. What would you say?
He must have had on some really nice pants.
Having made a decision and being resolved not to change it. Example, he was determined to get accepted to Harvard Law School.
And you want to learn this business?
Yes, sir, I want to learn this business.
Jay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We use sir to reply or say something respectfully to someone who we consider our superior. This can be polite.
So this is one very interesting way of improving your speaking, because we Tamilians love movies, isn't it? But you can slightly change your too much love for Tamil movies and focus on Hollywood movies, because you are learning English. It will help you a lot. And on the right side, again, as you told, there are hundreds of videos related to that, and you can use them in your practice. So this talk will help you to reduce the anxiety. And is it important to speak like a native speaker? He answers the question. Listen.
One question students often ask is, how can I improve my speaking? If you live somewhere where you don't have a lot of opportunity to speak English, this can feel like a big problem. However, that doesn't mean there's nothing you can do to improve. The first piece of advice I would give is listen. It's never been easier to listen to lots of English. The internet gives you access to millions of songs, podcasts, stories, video clips. There's so much stuff out there in English for you to listen to. And if you're listening to songs, sing along. A lot of people find that it really helps. If you're watching short video clips, pause them and repeat what you've heard. Listening to get an idea of how people speak can really help you with your own speaking. One thing that a lot of learners find difficult about speaking is that they worry too much about making mistakes, grammar mistakes, vocabulary mistakes, and so on. And this worry stops them from speaking fluently. Remember, though, that speaking is about accuracy, using language correctly, but it's also about fluency. So, of course, you need to try to use correct English, but fluency is just as important. One tip here is to record yourself speaking English. You can try copying something you hear a native speaker say, or just record yourself talking about yourself or anything you want to. Try speaking about a topic for a minute and see how you do. Another thing that students say a lot is, how can I sound like a native speaker? My answer would be, why do you want to? When you speak, the important thing is that people can understand you and you can communicate. If your accent makes that difficult for people, then there are things you can do to improve it. You can practice individual sounds, find out which sounds cause problems for speakers of your language. You can practice intonation by listening to native speakers and getting used to the sound of sentence stress in English. There's a lot you can do to improve your spoken English, but you don't need to sound like a native speaker. As long as people can understand you, that's fine.
So this is something very important. You know, there was a time in 70s, 80s, 90s in India, there was a craze after people speaking RP, received pronunciation, and the only reference to good English was BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation news readers, you know, and later many people started, most of the Doordarshan news readers also started imitating them. And later this was the practice. Then once the internet was available to us, and we had, when we started accessing American materials, they started neutralizing that kind of a belief that, you know, if you speak only RP, your English is better. And there is, one particular thing is that no one is interested in learning a foreign language for show off. Maybe okay for the love of a language, but today in our context, what is important is learning English is a must, because it helps us to earn our bread and butter. So basically it is employment purpose. So if you want to get employed, you need to be good communicators. And you know, last year, 2 Bharathidasan MA students, those who completed MA, they were given an offer by 2 different corporates with very high salary. So that was the first time in the university history 2 English students were directly appointed through a campus interview. That was because they could communicate very well. So today, even if you are an English graduate, you can end up getting a highly paid job if you are able to be very fluent in your spoken English, and if you are good in writing, and if you can read, listen, and interpret what you are reading and what you are listening in a proper way. So, and another, so the other opportunities, teaching opportunities all over the world. You get, I'm sad when people with PhDs get 15,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees per month teaching full workload in colleges and universities in the country. Why don't you people opt for going abroad, apply anywhere? So if you are worried about safety, I think with my experience, places are safe everywhere in the world. So, but for some war and problems, safety and security is there everywhere. And if you are a teacher, you are respected everywhere in the world, and you are well paid. So our students can start preparing right from their postgraduate days to become English teachers and go and teach schools and colleges abroad and a good living. So other resources that I recommend to people are teleserials, The Good Place, and Community, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now I started watching The Range. Is also one of the very good series. There's one problem with this, a kind of cultural clashes there. A lot of sexual contents are there, but I feel that our youngsters in our country, in our colleges, can digest sexual contents much better than our teachers and elders in our society. And if you disagree with me, watch the news every day. So I don't think it's a risk asking our college students to watch these contents on a regular basis. This will help them to enhance their communication in a better way. So this is going to be the last video I am going to show you. Motivation. So the most important requirement today is motivation. So students should be motivated by teachers. Students should be motivated by fellow students. Motivation is something that is lacking in our universities and colleges. Another problem is collaboration. So I'll explain about collaboration after I complete this. Motivation is instilling confidence in others. And this video, somehow I liked it, was shared in Instagram page. So I immediately copied the link and I started using it.
Best of luck, Sneha. सपना तो
Come on, Sneha, डर मत. तू बेस्ट है, तू कर सकती है. Come on.
सपना तो सपना होता है, ना कोई बड़ा ना कोई छोटा होता है. मम्मी मेरी कहती है, सपने देखो खुल के देखो, सपने पर तुम अपने देखो. मम्मी मेरी कहती है.
करण, आपकी बारी.
Come on, Karan, all the best. Karan, तोड़ दे, फोड़ दे. तेरे हाथ फैला दे. तू अपनी मम्मी का श्रांग गला दे.
आयुष, sit down.
करण, तू हार मत मान. तू फिर से ट्राई कर. तू कर सकता है. Come on.
आयुष, come here. I said come here. मैं हाथ ऊपर कर. दीवार की तरफ मुड़ जाओ. जाओ.
आयुष, तालियां बहुत हो गई. आपने अपनी मम्मी से क्या सीखा है, बताइए।
सर, भरोसा करना। मम्मी कहती है कि अगर कोई भी अपना हौसला खो देता है तो उसका भरोसा बनना चाहिए, हौसला डबल हो जाता है।
So instilling confidence in others, that is very, very important. It need to be done at all levels. It need be done at all level. Confidence building is very important. So teachers can play a very important role in building the confidence of students. So for that, one important factor that helps confidence building is cooperative work. I would like to share my experience. Immediately after COVID, our university was shut down, and after 1 month, we started planning for the online teaching. Then my HOD called me and asked me, what shall we do about the classes, and can you make a quick plan within a week's time with all the teachers. We have 85 English teachers in the department. So we have 4 levels to teach plus post-foundation writing. So level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and technical writing 1, 2, then technical communication and public speaking. Generally, these are the things we teach in language center. Then I told him I shall try to do my best, and I walked out of the room. That night I couldn't sleep. Next day I called for a meeting, virtual meeting. I called all the teachers, and we brainstormed and we discussed. And one person suggested that we divide each level teachers into 4 groups, and we can ask each groups to prepare materials depending on the skill requirement. So one group would prepare materials for writing, another group will prepare materials for listening, then convert that materials into PPT plus voiceover. So my job is to, give them training for using PPT, and as well as how to record voiceover. All those things were discussed and all agreed. I don't know whether it was a miracle or it was destined to be. Within a week's time, we could produce so much of materials that we have to get rid of more than 80% of it. We could use only 20% of it, and we could start the class and run the whole semester with the materials we prepared in a week's time. So that kind of a cooperation and collaboration is very, very important. When this could happen in a place where people from 20 different countries work together, starting from Americans to Indians, Chinese, people from Pakistan, we all collaborate together and work. So it is important. This is one skill very much lacking in our institutions in our country. I don't want to go deep into the politics of this, but as teachers, we are not running a competition. We are not here to run, competing each other. That is not our aim. Our aim is to help our students learn better, to become better communicators. Therefore, collaboration is very, very important. If you fail to collaborate, or if we fail to collaborate, we fail to survive in this competitive world. Maybe, as long as there exist these aided colleges and things like that, a certain percentage of graduates coming out with PhD can get regular jobs and survive. But over time, survival of teachers, it's going to be a challenge, because most of the foreign universities, the world number 1, number 2, number 3, top 100 universities are aiming at India. They have their eye on Indian market. They are already working on online contents and online courses. I think you all are aware of the fact that 900 autonomous colleges in India are going to be included in providing online graduate courses to students in the country. So it is going to be a very big challenge. So even community colleges cannot, a time would come, even community colleges cannot protect their staff. They have to have staff who are competent enough to cater to the needs of students. So therefore, if we want to survive, we have to collaborate. It is important. Whether you like the color of the other person, whether you like the car of the other person, whether you like whatever, whether dislikes or likes or dislikes, you have to set aside all those things and try to prepare and perform and support our students to enhance their learning abilities so that they can come out and be successful in their personal as well as professional lives. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and observations and suggestions. Maybe another, how much time, Dr. Rajendran, we have to have some questions or discussions?
Yeah, I think it's time, and people may ask the questions if they have any. Suggestions are welcome.
Shall I stop sharing? Remove my slide.
You can, sir. You can stop. Thank you, sir.
Participants, kindly post your questions in the chat box.
Thank you, Dr. Justin James, for the very detailed and interesting presentation. Very well, you started with the needs analysis, and that is what we usually don't do in classes. And then finally, you ended up with the collaboration, which is the need of the hour, I think so. And one thing is that, in India, you know very well that the classes are large. And, especially to have all these technology in classroom, it's a bit difficult. But when it comes to smaller classes, probably all these would work out very well. But still, we can have in colleges a few classrooms bigger, and then have all these smart boards, and then probably try that. That is that would be, I think, would be very interesting. But then you can also give us suggestions how to deal with the large classrooms.
Okay, so see, I think we all are aware of task-based learning method, which was developed by as a Bangalore project. So which you can use that as a model and develop group activities. So group activities, for example, if you are teaching listening, teaching comparison and contrast essay, what you can do is you can divide the class. How large it would be, 60, 70?
80, 90 sometimes.
Yeah, so the class situation is most of our classrooms are built for traditional classes, and they have benches, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you can make
chairs.
Yeah, benches, some places chairs. So it's not possible to move them around and make them face to face. But whatever we have to improvise the situation. What we do is generally we go out with a worksheet printout, the number of students, same number of worksheets, and we divide them into groups. And we discuss the infrastructure, tell them what are the methods of writing, and we show them an essay proper. One important thing I have learned here is that, most of our students are visual learners. You show them an essay, model essay, describe, they can write something similar to that.
Exactly.
100% accurate. So you give them this work. Maybe you can give, if it is a very large class, you can give 4 different topics. make 4 different groups or 5 groups for each topic and ask them to write. One group can write introduction, one group can write a body paragraph. Similar way, you can develop writing and collaborate. So maybe another constraint is that, we have 1 hour and 40 minutes class here. I don't know what is the duration of class.
It is 54 minutes.
Yeah, I think it is a too short a time.
Yes.
In that short time also, what you can do is you can have a discussion and things like that. You can ask them to work outside the classroom together and, submit each group 1 answer. So correction is also easy once you do the correction. While in the class, you can go around and suggest corrections, have discussions, look at what they have done, organize, planning. This way we can do. And when it comes to reading and listening, also similar way, you can, you need not explain things. You can ask a group to read a particular paragraph, discuss and come out with what they understand. Ask one of the students to come and elaborate things they have learned, and there is input from all the students. And over time, even the student who is very shy would one day, start giving, and it is an indirect way of reducing their anxiety level also. So that way, these are the ways we have to improvise. And the management should, construct classrooms in the future in such a way that I think there are no poor managements in our state. Yeah, they have billions, or at least millions, and whether they have a mind to spend on. And another problem is they don't want to move from the same campus. They have a prime location in the state or in the district, and they find it very difficult to move away from that place where they can get a larger place and develop larger infrastructure. These are wishful thinking, at the end of the day, what happens. But I'm not very negative about these things. Over time, things will change. And on the birthday of our Chief Minister Stalin, I listened to his speeches. He said it is important to improve language skills, not only in English, but also in Tamil. And people should listen to that particular speech across party lines, across your caste or whatever it is, and try to understand what he is focusing on. So it is the first time I come across a chief minister who is trying to take the whole state along with him in all aspects of life. He has improved medical facilities like anything. And I don't belong to his party at all. I don't belong to any party. But I appreciate when someone is planning something, for the benefit of people from all walks of life. So therefore, it is important to plan. And I think things will change. Or things will change, or those who are resisting to change will be changed.
Yes.
So that is going to happen, yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah. I think no other questions are there in the chat boxes. If there are no questions, some of the students attending can say something about the presentation, what you liked, what you disliked. At least come out with, say a few sentences, a few words.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Daniel.
There is a question from the head of the department.
Okay.
He asked, sir, do you endorse the post-colonial brand of argument that non-native speakers need not bother to follow British or American accent? If you do, is that correct, sir?
See, actually, yeah. So I disagree, because if I agree to that, I won't have my job. I don't speak British English. And if you analyze my pronunciation and the way I speak everything, it is typical Tamil. And I have slight Malayalam influence also, because I belong to a church from the Kerala side, Malangara Syrian Catholic Church. I have influence of Malayalam accent also. And I'm not, I can't claim that I am a very good speaker of English when compared to a native speaker. Now, why I tell you it is not very important is that today, the students who are working in IT field or call centers, they need to cater to people, customers from different parts of the world. They are starting from laymen to executives from different parts of the world. They have to talk to Africans, Arabs, East Europeans, Russians, Chinese, and all those people. So they may not follow British English. They aren't aware that there is something called British English or American English. So what is important is a mutually intelligible language. Mutually intelligible language, what I speak. So I have 85 teachers in the department. I am the e-learning coordinator. When I organize things, people are from different countries and Americans are there. British people are there, as I mentioned earlier. All of them understand. Now, another funny thing happened was when I came here in 2005, I tried to imitate them, imitate their accent, imitate the way they spoke. Then finally, some of my British friends or American friends used to tell, Justin, why don't you speak like an Indian? When you try to imitate us, you sound very odd. You are not natural. This is one thing. Second thing, the problem is we have a misunderstanding that it is not directly connected to this particular question. We have a misunderstanding that if you use difficult vocabulary, difficult words, you become a great speaker. That is another myth we Indians developed over time. We need very simple language. In all the IELTS question, they ask you, what is your hobby? You just tell, this is my hobby. Why do you like it? I like it because of this. So language is specifically for communication in day-to-day life. In day-to-day life, you don't meet only English professors. Only people from higher state of mind, you don't meet only IAS officers. You have to talk to very ordinary people. When you go to another country, you have to speak to different people. Therefore, the idea of going for RP or American English, okay, well and good. I am not against it. If you can speak like Sashi Tharoor, good, well and good. He speaks better than British people. He has got a better accent than many British people. I have come across people from Britain who cannot, they themselves don't know what is RP. They speak in different dialects. They speak in different accent. So therefore, it is not important. It is not important at all. Only thing needed is when you open your mouth and say something, even if in front of you there is an African, American, Filipino, or from Malaysia, or from Canada, they should be able to understand what you speak. You should be able to understand what they speak. That is enough. Then you are good in communication. You are very competent speaker. So please don't give this idea of speaking like Americans and British in the classes. Okay, that is one great anxiety they have. And you also avoid speaking in high sounding words, vocabulary. Speak to them like you are speaking to very ordinary people. That will indirectly encourage the students to come out speaking to you.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Professor Jiresh.
Yeah.
Most of the effective learning-oriented assessment strategies discussed during this talk are considered unconventional and unquantifiable in the test and result-oriented Indian classroom context. Kindly share your thoughts on incorporating such effective assessment modules into mainstream language testing process.
Okay, so Jagoshan, I am happy you are here. If I understand it rightly, whatever I communicated, yeah. See, I didn't follow the academic convention at all in my presentation. My aim was to give a presentation in a very layman language without using any technical jargons to reduce the anxiety of learning foreign language and becoming very proficient in that. In modules and testing process, I gave examples of IELTS. Most of the testing process, whether it is IELTS or whatever it is, they follow very unconventional methods. They combine both unconventional and academic modules. Part 1 IELTS speaking is very unconventional, very informal. They ask questions about yourself, what do you do? Sometimes ask questions like what you don't like about in your home. What do you want to change your, or can you tell us something that you want to change about in your home? Sometimes my students tell, we have a smaller kitchen. We want to build something larger. Sometimes students say, I don't like the paint in my room. So very ordinary things. But what is assessed in that testing is that whether this student is able to receive the question, assimilate, understand, and respond to the question. So in your society, you are not always in a test, right, question answer situation. You are in a dialogical situation, conversational situation. So in order to be successful in conversational situation, you need to learn unconventional way of speaking. It is not formality at all. And we come from a solidarity-oriented society where communication is more important, conversation is more important. Now, the mainstream testing in India is, I can say it is at fault. It tests always, we always test their writing. Seldom we test listening. Seldom we test, of course, we test some reading comprehensions. There are no proper listening tests that are administered. So therefore, it is important to change the curriculum or change the way we test in order to cater to the needs of the language fluency, language usage in a conversational situation. Plus, it is also important to train our students who are coming to higher education, postgraduate level and research level to use language in the formal situation. That's why I recommended they learn all the writing infrastructures that are very important to learn before they start writing their dissertations. It is important that way. So it is not, sidelining the formal way of testing, but at what level? Definitely not undergraduate level. Undergraduate level testing should change. It should be more conversational oriented, more testing their skills rather than testing formal output like writing. So if you have any suggestions and if you want to add to it or counter argue. Yogoshan, you are free to do that.
So we have next question from Professor John Rajkumar.
Okay.
Will not limiting range of vocabulary limit their range of fluency?
Professor, I have not recommended it at any place that they have to limit their vocabulary. Reading is one of the best methods of enhancing vocabulary. And it is important, students, I missed that point somewhere. It is important for students to read fiction. I would say if the graduate students, if any graduate students is not reading 50 to 100 pages on a daily basis, he can't be very successful in his later academic pursuits, especially research level academic pursuits. So limiting vocabulary is not the thing. What I am suggesting is to begin with, don't bombard them with a lot of vocabulary. What you use in a postgraduate class should be different from what you use in a language, I think language 2 or second language classroom, BA, BSc students come there, sit together and learn. So there you use very ordinary language. Wherever it is required to use technical jargons, use there. If you are teaching structure lesson, if you are teaching deconstruction, then there also you tell them what is structuralism in such a way that a layman understands that what is structuralism, what is deconstruction. Whereas I have come across professors who speak about structuralism, and after listening to them for 2 hours, I go out and scratch my head. I don't get anything. So that kind of challenges. These are issues that I have experienced personally. Therefore, wherever it is required, at a postgraduate level, at an MPhil level, at a teacher training level, wherever you need to use technical jargons, you have to use it. I'm not totally disagreeing with that. In a language classroom, when we are training them to speak few sentences, aiming at a rural student, make him speak few sentences, don't frighten them with cluster bombs, very difficult words.
Thank you, sir. And sir, there is an observation from Dr. Dorothy that this session is really an eye-opener to the current available e-resources and methodically explained. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Participants,
You are not audible, Saranya.
Participants, you are requested to fill in the feedback form, and the link is posted in the chat box. E-certificates will be sent to your register email in a week's time. Next, I'm glad to call upon Dr. J. Paul Jayakar, Head in Charge, Department of English, SF, and Dean of International Exchange and Study Abroad, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to all of you. That was a very interesting session by Dr. Justin James. Our respected principal, Dr. Dominic Christopher, respected chair of the department, Dr. Rajendra Pandian, respected resource person, Dr. Justin James, and my dear faculty friends from India and abroad, and my dear student friends. A very pleasant evening to all of you. During the first and the second wave of COVID-19, life was unpredictable and difficult to stay afloat. The whole world came to a grinding halt. But slowly, we all started limping towards normalcy, and education saw a paradigm shift and continued through online. Webinars became a universal platform for learning, researching, administering, and whatnot. At this juncture, as teachers of English language and literature, we need to ask ourselves how much we have acquired, enhanced e-resources, skills for effective, wholesome learning to happen in our own institutions. In this context, today's webinar by Dr. Justin James was of immense help to all of us, I believe. I greatly appreciate and thank Dr. Justin James for his practical advice and all the e-resources that he has shared with us. I'm sure, as he promised, he would share that with Mr. Daniel, and we can also, use that in our classes. I also thank Dr. Christopher, our principal, for his continuous support and guidance in whenever we go to him for any webinar or any conference. Thank you, sir. I also thank the chair of the department, Dr. Rajendra Pandian, for his continuous support in all the activities of the department. I also thank Mr. Daniel Rupraj, the coordinator of this webinar, and assistant coordinators, Mrs. Moses, Mr. Emmanuel, and Mr. Stewart, and Ms. Sharanya, and Ms. Sharon, for continuously working for almost a couple of weeks and coordinating with Dr. Justin James, and thus giving us a very useful webinar. I also thank our friends from all over the country. I especially thank Mr. Sunday, who is attending this webinar from Nigeria, who happens to be our alumnus. I also thank our friend and alumnus, our former colleague, Dr. Jiresh, and all our friends from within India and outside for making this webinar a great success. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Justin James for giving us these e-resources, which would probably make us, make better the classes for our students to empower themselves in speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills, and thus become global players. Thank you, Dr. Justin James.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We close?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. It is like a homecoming. So
yeah.
I didn't visit the country for the past 2.5 years. So, meeting you all is a pleasure. Dr. Daniel, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Rajendran, thank you very much. See you. Yeah.
See you.
Jagoshan, bye-bye.
Thank you, friends. You can exit.
Yeah, thank you, Saranya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.